Hello and welcome back to The Hill. My name is Worthington Moore, and joining me on today is Miss Caitlin Scott. She's Vice President of SGA, and she is here, and she's got some things to say, and I'll be interviewing her. How are you doing, Caitlin?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. This is school starts in a few weeks, although whenever this episode airs, maybe a week closer, but it's coming. It's coming right around the corner, our senior year. And all those things that have to come with that. It's going to be amazing. So I guess the first question that I wanted to ask is, how did you first get involved with SGA?
So it's actually very funny. Well, it's unique how I got involved. So I was a part of the Summer Bridge Panther Pride program in July of 2018. And that's when I met my mentor. Her name is Princess Ojalape. So during the summer program, I was active in doing things and stuff like that when it comes to being involved with my building sisters. And at the time, Princess was actually the SGA vice president. So she told me, she's like, you have no choice but to join SGA in some capacity. Even though you're a freshman, you can't join officially, but you could be a part of the Panther Aid program. So I was like, okay. At first, I was very skeptical because, I'm a freshman. I don't know everything yet. I don't know the organizations to join, what all the organization entails, like being a part. So at this point, I was like, you know what? Let's just do it. I'm going to join and stuff. And she pushed me to do it. She basically said I had no choice. And I was like, all right, so I'm going to go ahead and join. And ever since then, I've been involved in SGA. It ignited a passion in me to really care for student advocacy. And yeah, I've just been in it since then.
Yeah, and if I can ask, do you remember who you shadowed? Because I know that's a part of the being a Panther Aid. Do you remember who you shadowed your freshman year?
Yes, her name is Maya Whitehurst. She was the Senator of College of Education. Me being an education major, of course, that was the best person to shadow. And she was a great person to shadow when it comes to getting to know how the College of Education operates, which actually helped me my junior year whenever I became the Senator of the College of Ed.
And then from becoming Senator of College Education, you were able to transition this year, becoming the Vice President.
Yes. Okay. Also, I was the Senator of the College of Education. I was promoted spring semester of 2020 to the Senate Pro Tem. So the Senate Pro Tem sits right under the Vice President in the Senate. So you have the Vice President, then you have the Senate Pro Tem. That's the second-hand person. So when the Vice President isn't there, the Senate Pro Tem takes over the meetings and runs and facilitates things.
Oh, really? Okay, that's nice. So is the SGA already having meetings? Are they already looking ahead towards the school year, seeing what things are looking to be done, things like that?
Yes. So one thing Marquin and I really wanted to do was to make sure that we get a head start on this year, seeing that we're going through this transition phase of going from online to face-to-face. So actually both executive branch and legislative branch has been having meetings all summer. Actually in my branch, we actually just published some bills that we have passed over this summer time period. And we are actually having our first SGA Institute in SGA history next week, where we're going to be planning and preparing everybody in SGA for what to expect when the school year comes and how we're going to be operating for the school year, and also presenting our 100-day plan. So what we plan to do within our branch, what we plan to do as SGA for the community, for PV community, and also a Prairie View community and things of that nature. So it's been a very busy summer because we want to make sure that when we come back in the next couple of weeks, we come back hard, and we just really want to be present for the student body.
Definitely. And I kind of wanted to ask, with all that planning, is there any sort of thing in the bills or any sort of notes that you are having that have anything to do with, COVID cases, that have to do with, if COVID cases arise whenever students come back, and then there's that issue of not being able to do a lot of things in person and kind of like having to shift back to doing things virtually. Is there any sort of plans put in place for measures like that?
Right. So we still have the COVID task force that's still in hand right now. And they've been working steadily with Ms. Tandra Moore, who is over the health center, to prepare for when cases rise. So we are still planning to have face-to-face events, but they still have limitations. So we will have more events that are outside than we would have inside. Even though masks are not required, they'll be highly suggested. And like I said, we're still trying to plan those face-to-face events, but you might see some things change due to the possibility that cases are rising. When it comes to quarantining, we want to make sure that each housing facility has a place for students to quarantine, and that there's a nice strategic plan for how that goes when it comes to transitioning in and out of those units and things of that nature. And testing will always be available in front of the MSC. They might change locations, but as of right now, it's still in front of the MSC. And I know the city of Prairie View is really advocating for people to get vaccinated. We don't know for sure if they're going to bring the vaccinations sites back on campus, but we know that the city is keeping a site in the city for sure, just to really push for people to get vaccinated.
And with some of those plans that are that you're talking about, if everything goes well, and hopefully it does, what are some of the things that y'all could see potentially happening for the school year?
Right. So one thing that we definitely could see is bringing back those events that bring a lot of school spirit. Due to having COVID last year, we see the morale of students kind of decreasing. So one thing that we're really advocating for is working strongly with athletics and different departments on campus to bring the morale back up. So we might see a lot of events related to health, safety, and things, and partnerships with different organizations in those capacities, as well as more spirit events where we're not just celebrating and promoting one sport under athletics, but all sports under athletics, and working with other organizations to promote what they're doing. So we can show like, hey, PV is a community. We want to bring our spirit back. We want to bring the energy back, and we all want to work together as one community. So it's going to be a lot of partnerships, a lot of social media blasts, because we know PV is a big Twitter school. So what we want to do is make sure that our social media presence is transcending to where the students get the information and get it quickly. So just working as one big community and not just staying within SGA itself as an entity, but working with others on campus so we can bring the morale back.
Yeah, so I'm guessing that you're strongly working with our athletic department and looking to see sort of the things that can engage the student athletes and things like that, I'm guessing.
Yes, that is one thing we're definitely trying to do. We have seen some changes where certain entities and organizations that sat under the Office of Student Engagement has transcended to athletics. So since they moved over there, we're still working with them because we want to make sure that we're all on one page and making sure that we're still helping promote each other through this transition.
All right. So I kind of just want to shift gears maybe just a little bit. Something that I kind of like look in my emails. Sometimes I look in my emails and I see things that I didn't even see before. I think that as Prairie View students, we get a lot of emails from Prairie View and we just kind of gloss over it. But the other day I was looking in there and I saw something about registering an organization. So I'm guessing that this is going to be a bounce back year for many organizations on the campus of Prairie View. So are y'all expecting sort of a surplus or a rise in a student organization asking for funds this year?
So we are heavily planning. So our Comptroller Winston Okoro has been working with our financial advisor, Mr. Barnes, on creating strategic plans for how the request process goes. So one thing that is going to be mandatory for any organization that wants to request funds is that they have to attend a class so they know the proper protocol for requesting those funds, as well as how to properly fill out the document, how to properly contact the senator to write the bill for the funds to be requested, and how to make sure that you include every detail. So when those questions are asked at the meetings, that we don't have any issues and you get the funds that you can get. One thing that we do stress is that you ask way ahead of time before you have that set event that you're asking for the funds for. So there's definitely a lot of heavy planning when it comes to that. We are experiencing a budget cut, but we are still planning to keep the same amount that we've kept last year to give out to student organizations, because this money is not our money, it's for the students. So we are still expecting a rise for those requests. We're just planning out so we make sure that we have no errors and that everything is above the board, black and white, smooth running when it comes to requesting those funds.
All right, that sounds like a great process. I'm hoping that is able to not face any challenges or struggles this year. Want to go to my next question, which focuses on the the upcoming class of 2025, and the class that was freshmen but are now sophomores, the class of 2024. And with this upcoming school year, I'm guessing whenever you are meeting to discuss things, has there been like, or maybe have y'all felt sort of like a need to um, give this upcoming class and the previous class, now that things are looking to get back to face-to-face interactions, getting back to seeing each other one-on-one, is there kind of like feeling a need to not only provide this upcoming freshman class, but also the previous freshman classes that are now sophomores that experience, kind of like giving them both that freshman experience, even though one are like now actually freshmen, one the other is not?
Yes. So one thing that we are really pushing for is protecting and teaching our traditions. Unfortunately, the class of 2024 missed out on a lot of the traditions that happen at PV. For example, Panther Camp, Building Challenge, Pinning Ceremony. Those are vital parts that those students missed. So I know PALs are planning on bringing that same experience back for 25, just in a different way. But one thing we want to do is that we don't want to just teach our history in the middle of Panther Camp. We want to teach it throughout the year. We want to expand so students know, okay, this is the traditions that happen. We know not to walk on the grass because we want to respect our land. We know this about PV. We know the motto and the famous slogan, Prairie View produces productive people, and why we say that. So one thing we want to stress is teaching our tradition and protecting our traditions throughout the school year. So you might see different events. You might see hollowbacks coming back up, and not just teaching new history, new traditions, but reiterating the old traditions, teaching swamp over again, things of that nature. So we could give PV24 and PV25 a taste of what PV is like, because we see that we're going through this transition of the campus atmosphere, and we really want to bring it back and hold those traditions that we keep dear to our hearts.
Yeah, definitely. You've said it many times before in this interview, bringing back those traditions to really bring us back as a campus, because it all really ties us together. And without those, I'll be the first to admit I don't go to I don't go to the hump days. I don't do things like that. But without those sort of things, it's like you walk on campus on a Wednesday and it's like, oh, where's everybody at? And it really does, at the end of the day, connect all of us together as students. I want to go to the next question and ask. You said before your mentor, your freshman year, then Vice President of SGA, Princess Ojalape, who eventually did become president, I believe, the following year. What has been some of the advice that you've gotten from other mentors now that you're SGA Vice President?
One thing that was always told to me that I always remember is, do not stress over the little things, but use those little things to progress and change. So as a freshman, I was always very big on the little details, Well, those little details add to the big picture. And whenever I think about it, I can't think so much about what I think about the little details, but how does it affect the entire campus in the big end, like in the big picture. So is stressing over the small things going to benefit the campus as a whole? So instead of stressing on those small things, find a solution for it so it can work towards the big picture. In that, whenever I plan things for the campus and plan events and plan how a center is going to operate, will it be effective and smooth to where the results on the end doesn't harm or hinder the student body? So that was one thing that was always told to me. And one thing else that was always told is, don't let small words tear me down. We all know when you're in higher positions, you get a lot of feedback. You might not like all feedback, but you accept it, or you hear it, you consider it, and then you move in a way that you're not going to be in a selfish position, that you're doing all your work for the campus. You can no longer think about yourself. You have to think for the university as a whole. So that's the advice that I was always given. I definitely think about it on a daily basis whenever I'm doing simple actions, when I'm communicating with others, that I have to think about everybody. I can't think about myself. This position is not for me. It's for the benefit of everyone on this campus. So that's the advice that I received.
Yeah, and kind of continuing on that, what are some of the expectations that you have for yourself as a vice president?
My main expectation is to be more transparent. So let students know what's going on. And even though we might not have all the answers quickly or at that moment, state, we're still working on getting that answer. I'll get it to you as soon as possible. But in the meantime, this is what's going on. This is what's happening. And this is how it's happening and why it's happening. Also, letting students know what's going on in Senate. I know we're supposed to have one open Senate meeting a semester, but giving them updates on, hey, these are your senators. You can reach out to these people. Presenting Senate to the university. So instead of just asking one or two people in SGA, let students reach out to their senators so they know who it is. And letting students know these are the bills that are coming through here. These are what the bills are talking about, who they're related to, who they're going to affect. And also letting the students, by being transparent, letting the students hold us accountable for what we're doing. So making those bills public and students going back and seeing, like, and then 2 weeks later, hey, this bill was passed. Can we get an update on what's going on so we can see how it's changing the campus or making that change in that specific college or department. So being transparent is one of my biggest things that I'm trying to push for this year. I know I plan on doing monthly video updates of what's going on in Senate, and not just having myself do those video updates, but also other people in Senate, so everybody has exposure and knows who's doing what in Senate. So that's the biggest thing that I'm trying to push out this year.
Yeah, definitely with the whole transparency, I think that I might have heard or might have seen, evidence of some students saying, hey, feeling like they're not in the know at times just because they don't know specific people. And I think that transparency goes a long way.
Right.
And also it keeping us together, because if, only a few select people feel like, oh, I know this, but then like another subsection feels like I don't know these people and therefore I don't know this information, that can definitely lead to a sense of, just keeping everything really in tight versus, sharing it with the whole campus of Prairie View and the student body as a whole. So I wanted to ask this other question, because for anyone who's probably watching this, they're hearing a lot about SGA. So I think you mentioned it earlier on about becoming a Panther Aid your freshman year. So what can you tell me the additional steps that are go into that process?
Yes. So during the first week of school, we'll actually have our organization presentation, basically. So that's where the students will get information on what a Panther Aid is, what they do. So Panther Aid is a shadow of anybody that's in SGA. So if you have interest in Senate, you will shadow a senator. If you have interest in being a vice president in executive branch, you will shadow a vice president in executive branch, excuse me. And it's just to see the background work of what goes on in SGA. And it also prepares you for if you want to run in the spring elections. So the process will be that the application will go public on PV Paul Link, and the chairs of Panther Aids will go through the applications, probably do a few interviews, and once selected, they'll do the pairing stage. So depending on your major and your interest that you include on your application, also helps depend on who you will be partnered with. The Panther Aid experience is very knowledgeable. You get a lot of insight of how the operations of SGA is going, how you properly speak when it comes to meeting with administration or scheduling meetings with administration, how meetings are effectively ran. It's a lot of professional development that you learn. And it does prepare you for eventually taking over that position, because that's the plan. So that's the main role of Panther Aids. I definitely suggest it if anybody is new on campus. I always tell the freshmen and sophomores, if you're new on campus, look at being a Panther Aid, because you get a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge, and it helps you get into what SGA is before fully diving in and taking all the responsibilities of being a member.
Yeah, definitely. So I kind of want to, with this next question, take you out of your role of being vice president and more so look at you personally. And I just wanted to ask, how excited on a personal level are you, or would you be, for this year's homecoming?
I'm at a level 10. I am very excited. They've been planning for homecoming and taking the measures to see like how it's gonna be safe. But I'm more excited about the atmosphere and the feeling. It's like, we didn't have a homecoming last year. The year before, my sophomore year, it was a good feeling. So it's like senior year homecoming. It's the last one. It's gonna be fun seeing all the faces that we didn't get to see before. Class of 20, PV class of 20 is gonna be coming back. I'm just ready for that big family feeling. It's like the family cookout or the family reunion. I'm really excited for it. And, it's approved by President Ruth. So, I'm ready for homecoming. I'm really excited.
Yeah, just want to mention there briefly. There was a homecoming last year. Although I will put this in an addendum, it was a virtual homecoming. So it did happen last year, but it's not the same as being around people physically. And to that, I understand that. And so it really does feel as if with this year, it's really going to be getting back to that feeling. You get the homecoming game. You've got that, like you said, cookout, all those things. It's going to be like you can't taste food virtually. Like you can't taste it to the screen. You don't know how it tastes. You can't do that, but you can in real life.
Right.
Definitely. So last question that I wanted to ask you here on today is how did you come to Prairie View?
So I was provided the opportunity to learn about Prairie View in high school. I was part of an organization called Black Student Union, where the advisor was a big advocate for HBCUs. I always knew I wanted to go to HBCU, but I never heard of Prairie View A&M University. So he was like, hey, we're going to take a tour. You're going. I got connections. And that's that. So I was like, okay. So instantly when I took the tour and I stepped foot on campus, I'm like, this campus is beautiful. I fell in love with the campus. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and apply. I'm going to see if I can get in. I got in, and then I was blessed to receive the presidential scholarship, which was a tremendous blessing. And that was the icing on the cake. And I was like, hey, I'm going to PV.
Yep. Quick, easy, simple to the point, just like that. I'm glad that you mentioned the campus. That is actually a very popular answer. Once people see that campus, they're like, wow, this is amazing. It's the campus of Prairie. It's, why do I say that? But the campus is really amazing. It's beautiful. It's honestly, whenever I first came to, it was just amazing and gorgeous to look at. So I can definitely see that being one of the reasons.
Yeah.
But thank you so much, honestly, for being here, and thank you for the viewers for watching. This was The Hill with your host, Worthington Moore, and I was fortunately able to interview SGA Vice President, Ms. Caitlin Scott. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.